All right, hello once again. Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the Microsoft Developer Network Learn Web Development series. And I'm currently in the CSS first steps, and I'm going so far in there, I've gone through the overview, what is CSS, getting started, how it's structured, and now I'm into how CSS works. And then we'll have the using your new knowledge. So it says we've learned the basics of CSS, what it's for, and how to write some simple style sheets. Here we take a look at how the browser takes CSS and HTML and turns that into a web page. So it's kind of putting the stuff together, so to speak. All right. As mentioned there, when the browser displays a document, it's got to put everything together. The HTML, the CSS, and eventually the JavaScript that we want to add. As it says there, it processes the document in a number of stages, which it'll list here below. All right. And roughly what happens is what's shown in these 6 steps right here. First, as mentioned, it loads in the HTML. Then it converts the HTML into what's called the DOM, or the Document Object Model. And it's a series of nodes, and it's not that it's difficult, but it's a little quirky, and we'll look at it in more depth and breadth of coverage in a couple of minutes. All right. The browser then fetches the resources linked to the document: images, videos, and, as mentioned, link CSS. All right. The browser then parses the fetch CSS and looks at the rules and sets up everything accordingly. So the render tree, as they call it right there, all right, is laid out in the structure the way that it should appear after all these rules have been applied to it. All right, then the screen is actually drawn. So they're showing it right here, and isn't that important? It's all stuff that, for lack of better words, kind of happens behind the scenes. All right. So let's talk a little bit here about the DOM. Now we spent quite a bit of time, and one of the chapters that I will cover in some depth and breadth of coverage will be one of the chapters that are on the DOM in here. Not from here, but from the Muroc book that we have. All right. So as it says, a DOM is a tree-like structure that basically holds everything that's on the web page. Everything that's in there becomes what's referred to as a DOM node. Nodes, as it says, are defined by their relationship to other nodes. So there's parent nodes, child nodes, sibling nodes, etc. Once you unlock the power and you're able to use the DOM, there's really very little on a web page that you are not able to manipulate. All right, that's where it's kind of important here. All right, so as it says, understanding the DOM will help you design, debug, and maintain the CSS. Because as mentioned, the DOM is where the CSS and the document's content meet up. All right. So it says, rather than a long, boring presentation, let's look at an example. So it says there, take the following code. Now this isn't going to have much in it. In fact, if I grab this code that's right here, let's just grab it. And we had been working on a document before. And we had that one paragraph and we had the box in it. Let's put in that one paragraph and nothing else in here. Okay, so that's all we're going to put in here. And in fact, I'm even going to go in and, other than my body background color of yellow, I'm just going to comment out the rest of the style sheet that's in here. All right, so what you'll see is not much. So it's just going to look like this. Whoop, why did it look like that? Oh, because this is the old one. There we go. So there it is. In fact, that's not even what I wanted. Got our background color. All right, did we save this? Does not look like it. All right, so let's look at it now. So let's use cascading style sheets. That's it. That's all we've got on there right now. Okay. So it says in the DOM, the node corresponding to the paragraph element is the parent because everything that's here is inside of the parent. All right. Its children are at text nodes and 3 nodes corresponding to spans. So this is a child, this is a child, this is a child, and this is a child. The span nodes are parents. So this span is a parent of this span node is a parent of this, and this span node is a parent of this. So when you break it all down, it basically is going to create something that, for lack of better words, kind of looks like this. And it says this is how a browser interprets what we showed up above. It renders the above DOM tree and then outputs it so it just looked like this. And what you saw here, what you see here, is exactly the same thing that we saw right here. All right. All right. So it says, let's say that we applied some CSS to our document to style it. Again, there's the HTML. Now what we're saying is for each span, we want it to have a border around it and we want its background color to be lime. So it should look like this if it works. So let's look. All right. And I'll tell you what I'll even do, and that is I'll go into the CSS. I'm just going to remove all of it and replace it with this. That's it. Just that. Okay. And then we come back to here and we refresh. There it is. What they show right here should be the same as what we're seeing right here. There it is. So as it says, the browser parses the HTML and creates a DOM from it. Then it parses the CSS. Since the only rule is for the span selector, it says the browser will be able to sort it very quickly. Well, as you'd guess, the more complex your CSS gets, the longer it'll take to go through this process. It still won't be long, but it could be. I mean, if you had something that was just humongously big, so if you had a style sheet that was maybe thousands of lines long or even longer than that. It says, what happens if the browser encounters the CSS it doesn't understand? So let's say that you spell something wrong or whatever. All right. It says, given that CSS is being developed all the time, you might wonder what happens if the browser encounters something that it doesn't recognize. And the answer is it does nothing. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's look. I'm not even going to look at their examples, but I'm going to come back into here, and instead of span, I'm going to put spin. And there probably is nothing for spin. That'd be my guess, at least. So instead of it looking like this, if I refresh, well, it didn't like anything here. So let's see. There it is. It's got nothing. All right, it reverts back to what was there originally. So as the author says, the author in an earlier lesson rather mentioned that browsers do not all implement new CSS at the same time. Here it's doing nothing. If the browser is parsing your rules and encounters a property or value it doesn't understand, it ignores or skips it and goes on. Since the only thing we have in there is for span, which we changed to spin, which doesn't make sense, it ignores the whole thing. So they came in here and they notice what they said. They spelled color wrong. And this is an all or nothing type of proposition. So I believe, at least, let's try it. So we'll put in this. Don't worry, I know it goes into 2 different files, but I'll fix them in just a second. So let's comment, let's put it back to span, and let's comment all of this out. Bring this in, and I'm going to get that paragraph out of here. So there we have that. We incorrectly spelled this. Notice if we put it back where it's spelled correctly, it's now blue. When we make it the U, since it's not recognized, okay, we're not getting that. So we've got that. Let's go into here, and let's comment this out as well. Remember, this is HTML. So we have to comment it out using HTML. All right, now we've got this, and we want the text to be large, bold, and blue. All right, so it's a paragraph, and we said in our CSS that any paragraph should be bold, blue, and 200%, even though we spelled those wrong. So what's going to happen when we do this? Well, it was large, it was bold, it was not blue. So in other words, it just totally skipped this line. Here, that line was totally skipped. It did the font size and it did the font weight. There it is. So it's large and it's bold, but it's not blue. So as it says, this behavior is very useful. It means you can create, new CSS, and if you screw up, it'll only basically render the stuff that you didn't screw up. All right. All right, I'm not going to go through this thing because I don't like the way they do these with these functions in here. I just don't like the way that it's written. All right, so we've finished another one. So what is left in here is this using your new knowledge. So that gives us a starting point, and they want us to come in and add some stuff, make some stuff in there. I'm going to do this one. In fact, probably in all 4 sections, I'm going to do the associated assessment on the bottom. All right. CSS is a very important topic, and it's important that you have an understanding of it. So that should be it for this part of it right here. We'll come back with the using your new knowledge in just a couple minutes.